So let's have a look at what we're going to cover. We're going to start off looking at employment status cases. There's been an awful lot that's happened this year, and actually delving into a little bit of background in terms of previous years. We're going to explore the future of European-based law and a significant bill that is currently in the House of Commons on the future of European-driven law. I spent a bit of time doing a wrap-up on cases in relation to working time and the calculation of holiday pay, looking at cases such as Brazil in the Supreme Court. We've also had some situations where the courts have delved into the COVID-related issues, ongoing COVID-related issues. So there's been a few cases that I just want to highlight to you, but those are still ongoing and we're still waiting for a number of key decisions on COVID. Roundup of things that have gone on in relation to dismissal in terms of court decisions. Two key cases I want to explore with you on TUPE. And finally, we're going to finish off on a section on discrimination. Clause 1 does make it clear that the powers to revoke retained EU law will not affect primary legislation. Okay, now that is significant because the majority of implementing EU law have taken place through regulations and the adaptation of regulations. So whilst things that have been enacted through primary legislation, so for example, the Equality Act of 2010, anything that is primary legislation is spared. But this bill will focus on things like the working time regulations, TUPE regulations, the part-time and fixed-term workers regulations, agency workers regulations. Some of the rules around collective redundancy, particularly for TUPE purposes, may well be affected. Some of the laws that have been enacted through regulation on family-friendly leave and pay, maternity and parental leave regulations, for example, data protection laws that have been enacted through the GDPR, and some areas of discrimination that have been enacted through regulations. Okay, as I mentioned, it is early days. We are still at the committee stage of the House of Commons, but it's very much watch this space and wait to see what is around the corner. 2023 could prove a very interesting year for European-driven employment law.